Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. Today's episode, we're going to have a little bit of fun with the subject at hand, and we're going to be talking about a pretty important topic, I feel. I don't think a lot of people are really talking about this, but I do hear a lot of talk about this, so I figured, why not talk about this, right? I mean, that's what we do here. We discuss, we talk, we start a conversation on this topic, or we continue the conversation on whatever topic we end up talking about here. In this case, we're going to be talking about expat versus immigrant. What is the difference? What are you? What do you consider yourself as? You consider yourself as an immigrant, an expat. Again, what is the difference? What do these terms mean? What does that term mean? Anyway, at least the expat term, right? Well, expat is basically expatriate. Okay, and an immigrant, well, you already know what an immigrant is. An immigrant actually, for the most part, at least in the USA, it gets a pretty bad kind of connotation. It's more like a negative word, and I think that's why a lot of Americans, especially Americans, when they move abroad to whatever country they move to, they adopt the term expat as opposed to immigrant, because they don't want to be considered, they don't even want to think that they themselves are an immigrant. But there is no difference between expat or immigrant. There are a few differences. There are a few things that we are going to discuss, because as I started doing a little bit of research, I had to do a little research, to figure out what I'm going to talk about here. I realized that the term expat is not exclusive to the US, but it seems to be pretty exclusive to the English-speaking language and all that stuff. So, again, we're going to be talking about all that and then some. Before we get started, though, I want to give a big, huge shout out to all of the new subscribers out there, all the old subscribers, everyone out there, but especially all the new subscribers, all the new patrons, all the new supporters, all the new members, all the new contributors to the show, whether you're leaving comments down below, sharing the videos, giving likes, sending a few bucks here and there, like being a patron, member, whatever, anything you guys have done, holy guacamole. But especially to all the people out there that have been leaving their comments down below and continuing the conversation of these videos, which, by the way, I would like to do with this video as well. So please, as you're watching this video, when the video is done, at any point during the video, leave your comment, leave your 2 cents down below, and let us know what you think about this whole thing. What do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself an expat, or do you consider yourself an immigrant, or both, or what? Also want to give a big shout out to Wonderlusty for the $50 contribution that they sent out here. Wonderlusty is a channel on YouTube. I'll leave all the links down below, but hey, they sent a $50 donation, in order to have a shout out here on this channel on the next video, which is this video right here. So, shout out to him, shout out to all of you, and let's just get started. Let's get into it. So I'm sure you guys clicked on this video because you saw the thumbnail, you laughed a little bit, and you couldn't help yourself, but you wanted to check it out. So that was a meme that I actually found on one of the forums online, one of the expat forums, one of the foreigner forums online, and I just thought it was too funny to pass up, and I thought, hey, this is probably a pretty good conversation piece, for us to do a video on, to talk about, because I feel it's kind of important. And that meme, believe it or not, has a lot of truth to it. I think. And so I thought, why not get into it? Let's just get into it. Now, I did some research, and it seems like not many people are talking about this topic. So I don't know how well this video is going to do, but we'll find out soon enough. Anyways, all right, I digress. Let's get into it. So what is an expat? What is an immigrant? What's a foreigner? So look, we already know what an immigrant and a foreigner is, okay? We're all that for the most. We're going to be that, or we have encountered that at some point in our lives. If you come from the USA, if you come from any major city or major area, you already know what an immigrant is. They're all over the place. And now, if you're planning on moving to another country, or you yourself already live in another country, well, you're an immigrant. That's it. An immigrant is just basically someone that leaves their country to go live in another country. That's it. All right. Now, I'm sure Webster's dictionary, Webster himself would have a more, a better definition of immigrant. But you guys, I think most of you guys can figure it out and catch a drift. Now, what is an expat? An expat is an expatriate, expat. expatriate. And where did that term really come from? Well, when I first heard it, I was pretty young, okay? Again, let's just go back. I'm 40 years old, 41 years old, and I was born in the 80s. And so back then, that term expat, when I heard it, it was mostly from Vietnam vets or Vietnam movies or people from that era. And it was, in fact, people would say, I've gone bamboo. Where somebody, went to Vietnam or went out there for whatever reason, or whatever other war, it was being fought out there, Korean, whatever. And they will go out there and fall in love with the East and then never come back. They just would stay in Thailand, stay in Vietnam, stay in Philippines, stay wherever, Korea, you name it. And they would live out there. And a lot of times there was a term for that. There was a term for that, but a lot of times people would just say, hey, that guy's gone bamboo. And when those people were out there, they would be called expats, expatriates. And my understanding was the fact that they were patriots. Again, in many cases, these people were ex-military, all right? And how more patriotic can you get, right? If you fought for your country, you can't get any more patriotic than that. But still, when they returned home, they found out very quickly how much the government actually cared for them. So they decided to just go back, to wherever they were fighting and or wherever they were out there and gone bamboo. And then they would just consider themselves or, just say to people, hey, I am an expat, I'm an expatriate. And again, that's where I always kind of like assumed where that term came from. It's funny because I grew up in Miami, and Miami, for anyone that knows anything about that area, is a major immigrant hub. It's just, it's a major melting pot of immigrants, where a lot of people even consider it the capital of Latin America because every Latin American country's represented there. But again, we also have enclaves of Chinese people, of Russians, of all kinds of people. It's a very, very international city. And basically, it didn't matter where you came from. You were just either an immigrant or a foreigner. That's it, But basically, immigrant. Everybody was an immigrant of some sort, all right? And a foreigner was basically if you were just visiting or you didn't really live in the U.S. or in Florida or in Miami. So then, that would be foreigner, I guess, But everybody was just an immigrant, no matter what, all right? The only exception would be someone that was born there, like me, Or a lot of people that were born there, the children of a lot of these immigrants. And so then now I'm not an immigrant, I'm a citizen. I'm a Cuban American, a Mexican American, Chinese American, or whatever American. Salvadorian American. And then that's, that whole thing, okay? And they would not be immigrants anymore, but they would be son of immigrants, kids of immigrants, okay? But like I was saying earlier, to the U.S., the term immigrant is almost like a bad word because in the U.S., all right, a lot of people, they consider immigrants, the bottom rung, all right, of the totem pole, all right? What is an immigrant in the U.S.? And what is an immigrant all over the place, for the most part? It's someone that's just coming from another country. But in the U.S.'s case, when we hear immigrant, we hear, like a Mexican that crossed the border to work the fields, even though Mexicans have been here longer than us. But, at least, in parts of the U.S., all right, in many parts of the U.S. Or, an Indian immigrant that came from India, all right, and they opened up a gas station. Or a Chinese immigrant, and they opened up a Chinese restaurant. Whatever. I know I'm going very stereotypical here, but you understand what I'm saying, where I'm going with this. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada or, even in Europe. This is something, that's, each country and each person, that came from that country had their stereotypes. And, most of immigrants, again, they would come leaving from a really bad situation to come to a better situation, right? And so that's that. When I started doing a little research on this topic a little bit and then looking into it a little bit more, I saw that term expat, was used a lot. Like, for example, people leaving the UK right now, people leaving Britain, leaving that area, and moving to anywhere else, and they would consider themselves also expats. So I think that the whole, and then, a lot of them are leaving because of the whole Brexit thing and whatever. But the point I'm making is that it seems like the term expat, more than anything else, is like the American version, all right? The gringo version or the American version or the English version, better said, the English version. When I said American, I was meaning more the language than anything else, but English, that's the language.
Bruh.
Just like we have the Spanish language and then we have Mexican, Cuban, Dominican, Venezuelan, you know, all those other languages, okay? They're all Spanish, but they're all very different. Same thing with English. English is like the mother language, but you know, the way they speak English in India and is very different than how they speak it in Baltimore and how they speak it in, you know, California and how they speak it in Texas and how they speak it in Canada and Ireland. And I could go on. So, you know, there's many, so the same thing with all that. So, but that term expat seems to be an English, you know, an English word that kind of derived or came from American, okay, which came from those original, you know, soldiers and that original, you know, group of people that started, you know, leaving the U.S., okay, leaving the empire, the mighty empire, in a sense, with disgust and in a sense of like, you know, again, they're expatriates, okay, and so that's kind of like how I, you know, looked at it. When I came out to Mexico, you know, I'm a foreigner, I'm an immigrant. I'm all those things, okay? And I speak Spanish. I mean, what else am I going to say? By the way, very important to say here, the only people that call expats are other expats.
Bruh.
You're never going to hear a Mexican calling you an expat. You're never going to hear any foreigner, as far as I know, really calling you an expat. Now, this could change. They might call, you know, white gringos in Thailand expats. I don't know, or in the Philippines, I don't know. But at least when it comes to Mexico or Latin American culture or just Spanish, that term expat isn't really a thing, all right? It's nothing. You're just an immigrant or a gringo or an American or a Canadian. Or that's how, you know, Latin people, Mexican people, Spanish people basically kind of, you know, dissect, you know, they kind of divide everybody there, okay? That term expat is a term that was created, like I said, by an expat, okay? So that word expat, that term expat was created by Americans, okay, as far as I know. By the way, if I'm wrong in anything I'm saying, again, please correct me. Go hog wild, go crazy in the comment section as you usually do. But that term expat, like I said, you know, is only used by other expats. You're only going to find that word in the English language. You know, when you're on Facebook and you go to the expat groups, you're not going to a foreigner group, you're not going to an immigrant group, you're going to an expat group. Expats of Mazatlan, expats of Merida, expats of Oaxaca, expats of Mexico City. You're never going to find immigrants or foreigners. Now, there are groups that are called immigrants and foreigners of Merida, immigrants, foreigners of Mexico, Mexico City, whatever. But they're usually Spanish speaking or of another language. But all the English speaking ones are called expats. And it's funny because, again, you know, today, in today's day and age, you know, anyone that calls themselves an expat, they also consider themselves expatriates. But it might not be for the same reason, okay? Like I said, when I first came out here, you know, even though everyone I spoke to and talked to, you know, that was Mexican, I was an immigrant. I was a foreigner here. That's it. You know, that's how I would consider myself, how they considered me, whatever. But the term expat was something that I used by myself, you know, basically to you know, trying to define myself, that I would, you know, use to define myself with certain other individuals that knew what I was talking about when I said expat. And the definition I used for expat was the original one, which is an expatriate. I, you know, consider myself an American. I love America. I love my country. I love the USA. I love everything about it. Okay. I'm proud to be an American. Copyright strike. Anyways, I love it. I love everything about it. The good, the bad, the ugly, the whole everything. Okay. But I felt, okay, like a lot of people, all right, at some point, that the U.S., my own country that I loved so dearly, left me behind. You know, basically, you know, again, you know, unfortunately, It is not the country it used to be. And, for many, everyone has a different reason why they think the way they think. And I'm not going to get too deep into it right now because I have before in other videos and other episodes. You guys can check those out if you want. But it's more because, it's just everyone has their own reason. And I got to the point where, again, if you know my story or a little bit about my story, or in fact, I think the last episode was kind of my story. You know that the U.S. kind of chewed me up and spit me out many times before. And it got to the point where I was already, in my late 30s. And I said, and I had to rebuild once again. And I was like, man, I can't do it here anymore. You know what I mean? Like I just can't. And so I opted out. I opted out to go bamboo, to become an expatriate, to say, man, as much as it hurts me and pains me to leave, I have to leave because I need a better life. I want a better life. I deserve a better life. I am a hard worker. I help people. I am a good person. I could go on and on. We all have our list of things, you know what I mean? And this is what I think of myself, and not everybody thinks these things about me, and that's okay, That's not the point. The point is that I made my my decision that in order for me to have a better life, I needed to leave the country I love so much. I needed to part ways with this very toxic relationship. And ever since I did, it's been amazing. And that's why I consider myself an expat. You know what I mean? If I talk to another American, if I talk to another gringo, if I talk to anyone out there, I say I'm an expat. But there's a lot of people out there that say they're expats, but they look at it more like in the kind way. Like, oh, I love my country. I live 6 months out of the year here in Mexico, 6 months out of the year in Connecticut or Texas or Montana or California or Florida or whatever. All right. And they consider themselves, expats. They can consider themselves expatriates. You know what I mean? But maybe not expatriate, more like expat, not really knowing what expat really connotates. They're probably just thinking it's a cutesy definition. Okay? And it probably is these days. The way I see it just being thrown about all over the place, it seems like it is more like a cutesy definition. And I myself am moving away, okay, from being called an expat, okay? Just like the word woke. Back in the day, the word woke, meant that you listened to Alex Jones. Today, woke means something completely different, okay? And you know that. Okay, so things happen. Things change. The definition of words change. All right? Unfortunately, So with that being said, I'm sure that the word expat has already changed as to what it used to mean to me, to others out there, that consider themselves expats or called themselves expat. I think that, that word has changed these days because it feels like, any old person out there that leaves the U.S., okay, or leaves any English-speaking country, Canada, U.S., Australia, many European countries, they come out here and they consider themselves, they call themselves expat. And I think now, back in the day when we were talking about like an old Vietnam vet or when I came out here or whatever, expat really just meant, again, I'm a patriot. My country did me wrong. I'm going to get out of here. The end. All right. And now expat, means more like a privilege. You know how they talk about white privilege or they talk about any kind of like, gringo privilege or whatever. Well, there's expat privilege. Okay. Again, going back to that meme, because look, I got black friends out here and they don't call themselves expats.
Bruh.
They're immigrants, they're foreigners or whatever, right? Black people from the U.S., okay? And again, it goes with that as well. Look, even me, I'm an expat, but I'm Cuban, so I'm more like an immigrant, like a foreigner. So the whole idea of expat, okay, is again a certain. I think what it is these days, is a certain group of people out there that want to consider themselves a little bit more. Okay, they don't want to be an immigrant or a foreigner because of the connotations that it really means, that it really, what their definition of immigrant or foreigner is. So they come out here and they're like, oh no, I am not an immigrant. I'm not a foreigner. I'm an expat. And so that's what I think. You know what I mean? That's where I think, that whole thing is these days, where now I myself have gotten away from being called an expat. You know what I mean? Like, because, outside of a few individuals out there, you know what I mean, that kind of still know what that definition really means, but for the most part, I'm moving myself more and more away from that, simply because, I'm a foreigner, I'm an immigrant. That's what I am. And, I am not the current definition of what an expat is, meaning I don't think I'm better than a Mexican. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I don't think I'm special. I don't think I'm any of these things, okay? Like I said, my original definition of an expat, which is an expatriate, is, someone that, just left the USA only because they, got kicked out for, lack of a better term, or got, just, it was just, they just don't fit into society for whatever the reason. And that's what I always thought expat was. But now it seems like everyone's an expat. And, just like everyone drinks Starbucks. I don't drink Starbucks. And so I don't think I'm a current expat. And so, I'm not saying, being an expat or being called an expat these days, is a bad thing, but let's just keep it real. Let's keep it real and what that really means. And if you're gonna be calling yourself an expat, well, what that means to you, you're probably part of a certain group of individuals, that likes certain things, and there's nothing wrong with any of that, but you got to remember, what are you here for? Okay. And if you are here, because you move into Mexico, you're leaving the USA behind, you're leaving Canada behind, you're leaving any of these things behind, then you're an immigrant. And you should be calling yourself an immigrant. And you should be calling yourself a foreigner. Again, you can call yourself whatever you want. Call yourself Susan, Johnny. I don't care. It's not my problem, right? But I'm just saying, because at the end of the day, like, that's the reality, Sure, you are an expat, but I feel just like anything else, the definitions of words change. And you might not fit that definition anymore. Look, just like the definition of recession changed, I thought recession was one thing, and, all of a sudden now they're telling me it's something else. Just like there's many words that they're changing the definition of. So you get to choose whether you want to change with that definition or not. And in this case, I myself personally, the way that I constantly, see the word expat being thrown around, or digital nomad, or foreigner, or any of these things, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really fit any in that. I'm not a digital nomad, and I'm not, and I am not a, I'm not an expat in today's definition. But what I am is, sorry, my English is not so good sometimes.
Bruh.
I'm not going to edit that out. But what I really am is I'm a foreigner, okay? And guess what? I am setting up roots here. I plan on staying here. So therefore, I am an immigrant, because I am doing everything humanly possible to get my Mexican citizenship. So guess what? That means I'm an immigrant, all right? And if I call myself an expat, great, wonderful. But that's really not the term per se anymore, is it? You feel me? And, I feel like that word, like a lot of words, lose their meaning as well as they change their meaning. But, I can harp on this for longer. I can go on another half hour. I can go on another, 3 hours, talking about this. But to me, why I make these videos is to just give you guys my opinion on certain things. Also, bring up certain controversial topics that shouldn't be that controversial and that we should be talking about, because, going back to the episode that I made on, the Mexicans hate Americans or gringos or whatever. And, as you guys saw that video, you saw that really wasn't true. But you did get to see or hear, or at least, kind of get the idea of what kind of Americans, what kind of foreigners or immigrants are the ones that are not liked. And it's these expats, digital nomads, the ones that are, again, not really contributing anything except, spending money. Which again, there's nothing wrong with that. And again, I'm not against any of anything. Okay, I'm super freedom. Okay, meaning I'm free for everybody. All right, freedom, and I will go to bat for just about anyone and anything. Okay, meaning I will support anyone's decision to do anything, outside of some really, really horrible things, but you know what I mean. So with that being said, okay, I'm not against those people. I'm not against anyone that wants to call themselves an expat or become an expat. I don't hate anyone that likes to, go to Starbucks and goes to the fanciest stores and wants to live in the fanciest house and have a BMW and all that. And why would I hate on that? Whether they can afford it or not, I'm not hating on any of that, so it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like it's, back in the day, when I was growing up, expat meant living the life I am living. Today, expat is not what that's not what that means. It's more like a fancier version of that, okay? And like I was doing like I was telling you, as I was doing some research and I was listening to what expat means in other countries, expat basically means, the higher end of the foreigner scale, okay? So that's it. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the more you think you're on the high end of the scale, the more you're kind of going to be considered an expat. And the lower you end, of the immigrant rung you're at, then you're an immigrant, foreigner, whatever. I don't know if that makes any sense. I think it does. But like I said, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, these are all just words that we can use or not use, and we can define or not define however we really want, okay? Because at the end of the day, I'm still probably going to be say I'm an expat and consider myself an expat to certain people out there, because I am considered in my heart, in my soul, an expatriate. I love my country, but I feel like my country is going in one direction and I want to go in another direction. I come to Mexico and it's going in the direction I want to go in. So that's why I am now, in love with this country, because this country is going in the direction I want to go in. And my former country is not. So I consider myself an expatriate. I don't plan on ever really, really living or going back or having a life in the USA ever again. Period. In the story. So that would, put me in the immigrant scale, in the immigrant section, okay? And that's what I am. I am now an immigrant. And I can easily say that because my parents were immigrants. I'm only the first generation American. And I couldn't hack it. I left, whatever. Say whatever you want to say. That's totally fine. Say it in the comments. But as I was, but getting back to the point, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter to me. I am an immigrant. I'm proud to be an immigrant. I'm proud to be a foreigner in this country that can contribute with a lot, okay? Whether it's, my background as an American born and raised in the US of A, or my background as a Cuban and everything that comes with that, all the cultural, awesomeness that comes from being a Cuban, from being an American, from being all that, from being a Cuban American. All right. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud to bring it out here and display the fact that I am a foreigner, that I am an immigrant out here, and that this country has taken me in, because that's basically what it is. I came from the USA basically broken, disheveled, with nothing at all, barely any hope, barely anything, all right? And this country not only took me in, but allowed me to grow, prosper, and now I'm in a position where, not only am I giving back to this country, okay, but I'm giving back to as many people as, are here to listen, all right? And here to take some advice and all that good stuff. So I know this video, like a lot of my videos, are just these long rants about these topics. And the idea, like I was saying, is for all of us to, continue the conversation below and really maybe even start a new conversation on these things. And again, see what's up. What are you? That's basically where we're at here. Let's just finish this episode and round it all off here. But what do you really consider yourself? Do you consider yourself an expat? Do you consider yourself an immigrant, or do you consider yourself both? All right. After everything I've said, I consider myself an immigrant. But, the term expat means something different to me than it might mean to you. And, the actual term expatriate, yes, I consider myself an expatriate. I am no longer a patriot, unfortunately. You know what I mean? I love my country. I love everything about it, but I don't live there anymore. And, eventually I'll become a Mexican patriot, So whatever term that would mean, So regardless, at the end of the day, I have a lot of love and I thank Mexico for so much. And it would be an honor to become a Mexican patriot. And it would be also an honor, for the USA to get back on its feet so that I can become a patriot once again and not just consider myself an expatriate. Now, sure, I'll still be living in Mexico most likely, but I can still be a patriot and not say I'm an expatriate anymore. But that's not up to me. That's up to the USA. And I'm not here to try to control or change anyone or anything. I'm just here living my life, dumbass Cuban American that, used to be a chef and, has a bunch of funny stories and a way of saying things that decided to one day make some YouTube videos. And here we are, I'm loving my life and I love everything about it. And I love you guys. And I think we're going to end it there. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode talking about this weird topic. I promise, we're going to have a lot better videos. And I know I was saying earlier in one of my posts that I'm only going to be uploading on Sunday, but I might be uploading twice a week, Wednesday and Sunday. And again, that might change as well. So I'm not even going to be setting a date anymore. I'm just trying to, catch the algorithm, So for anyone that's still watching this video, just so you guys have an idea of what I'm going to be doing. So I'm just going to be uploading videos whenever I think, but most likely Wednesdays and Sundays. But we're going to be playing it by ear as we go along. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. As long as you hit that bell icon, make sure if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe, hit the likes. That really helps. If I helped you, help me, leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. You already know what's up. If you want to contribute even further, you can contribute even further down below. All right. But at the end of the day, hit that bell icon and you'll never miss a thing. All right. We have live streams coming up where I'm going to be interviewing the lawyer again. We're going to be talking about visas and immigration again. All right. With even more useful information that you're all going to love. I hope you're all going to love. And so many more things that we got down the pike. All right. So stay tuned. All right. I hope you guys are enjoying all the videos so far. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And if you did, you already know what to do. Don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit that bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.